is the sound that has actually become somewhat familiar for many automotive enthusiasts in the last decade or so, give or take a few years. Yes, that's the sound of a supercharged V8. But a little bit more about that shortly. I want to say that these times that we are living in have never been more interesting for truck lovers ever. At any point in automotive history, there have never been so many niche, hyper-dedicated, super performance trucks available on the market. Look, there's a Ford Raptor. Well, we're expecting a brand new one very, very shortly, at least at the time of me shooting this video. There is a Ranger Raptor, unfortunately, for other markets. Boo-hoo-hoo to us. GM, well, look, they have the Colorados, the R2, the Bison, Trail Boss, AT4. Maybe they'll be inspired by the new Raptor to introduce something a little bit more hardcore. But the hero of the day, of the week, is this thing. This is a 2021 Ram TRX. And look, in my automotive critic career that spans a little over 2 decades, never have I driven something so insane. And that sound that you hear at the beginning of the video is a sample of what this thing is. Now, in the following video, unfortunately, mostly for me, I won't be launching the TRX because I have to return it in a few days in the same condition that I picked it up in. Yeah, I'm a little bummed too. What can I tell you? But we will do a little walk around, and I'll touch on a few things that separate the TRX from the rest of the Ram 1500 line. And then we'll go for a little wine tour, if you will. Now, the 2021 Ram TRX is, well, the easiest way to put it is that it's, as cliche as it sounds, a Ram Rebel on all the steroids. Just visually you can see that this is not just a regular Ram pickup. And look, I'm just gonna go right over here. Just up front, straight up, the body on this thing is 8 inches wider than the regular Ram, and the truck itself is 6 inches wider. Like other visual aspects, an actual functional hood scoop, which is very, very cool. It's almost everything you see on my tester is what you get for the base price, which is $94,395 in Canada, $70,095 in the US. It's just the way it is. We have to deal with it. One of the options on my tester are these 18x9. 18x9s are standard, but these are the beadlock capable wheels, which just for the look are an absolute must. I have the decals up there, but everything else on the hood, everything else, the flared fenders, the arches, the massive tailpipes, as I come around you'll see them, everything else is essentially standard, which includes, for the price, the 35-inch Goodyear Wrangler wheels, the 12-inch screen on the inside. I'll show it to you. My tester does have a bunch of options. In fact, one of them is in the bed. It's only a $1,000 option, and I'm really on and off about it. It's the bed-mounted spare. If you couldn't tell under that snow, kind of ruins the utility, but it's part of the look, and it really, really works. Look, of the options, this Hydro Blue, which is fantastic. Beadlock wheels, I mentioned. I've got the bed utility package, advanced safety with the Harman Kardon TRX Level 2 kit, which includes cooled seats, heated steering wheel, and a bunch of other stuff. Look, my tester is $116,500, or just close to being absolutely, completely loaded. If you don't want to pay that kind of money, well, you don't have to. But if you want this kind of truck, it's the only game in town, at least at the moment. What else can I show you? Tow hooks. I'll show you the hood scoop. Yeah, I got the TRX decal on the hood, which is kind of stuck in ice and snow at the moment, so you can't really see it. Here's one of the standard features with the truck. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a few moments. 11.8 inches of ground clearance, 32 inches of water fording. It's a crew cab. It's the only configuration. Crew cab with a 5'7" box. The kids, at least my son, is losing his mind every time I pull up to daycare to pick him up. It's very typical. It's the usual stuff. But because it's a TRX, there are a number of touches, both optional and standard, that, well, I mean, it's special on the inside, so Ram figured why not make it special on the inside as well, especially on the outside and the inside. So there's the Harman Kardon optional thing. I also have rocker rails. Those are the useless side steps. Just started up. All kinds of cool graphics. Your typical gauges, which are fantastic. There's your 12-inch screen, my bad, which is fantastic because when it's vertical like that, it's just so much easier to use. You don't have to reach all the way over here to get to some of the menus. Storage is incredible. Here, if you weren't sure you had a TRX, there's the plaque that reminds you that you have a special truck. Fit finish materials. This is ultra premium badass in one package. Oh, I do have to say, paddles. It's a little bit weird because, well, FCA is very big on these rear steering wheel mounted audio controls, so they split the paddles kind of in a U shape. I mean, it looks great from the front, but when you're working them from behind, whatever, it's just a stupid, silly detail. Speaking of details that are not stupid, though, launch control, yeah, this is full-time all-wheel drive, which is very interesting, so no two-wheel burnouts. TRX. What else can I tell you about the outside before we go for a wine tour? I guess there's nothing else to add. This thing is just incredibly cool. And all the truck guys and truck gals will watch you drive by. At least they have with me for the last few days. I'm tired of talking and not driving, so let's go for a spin. Now, look, I'm kind of ashamed and saddened by the fact that I've only done some extremely mild off-roading with this thing, but I can tell you that the TRX, as I just mentioned, has a full-time all-wheel drive system with an active transfer case, which means that it sorts where the power needs to go when you need it to go there. So, as I mentioned also, you can't do a two-wheel burnout. However, you will always be able to put all of the supercharged V8 power to good use. So it's a trade-off, okay? So supercharged V8, as we all know, it's the Hellcat, 6.2 liter supercharged, 702 horsepower, 650 pound-feet of torque, 8-speed automatic transmission. Just assume, and correctly, that absolutely everything about this truck is beefed up to the max, and that includes the brakes, the frame, everything. Because this truck will pull a 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. We'll do a 0 to 100 miles per hour. That's 160 kilometers an hour for my Canadian friends, in like 10.9 seconds. And it will cover the quarter mile in under 13 seconds. That's just ridiculous numbers for a truck this size. But that's the reality of this thing. It's FCA that just put everything they had, as they do with all of their over-the-top SRT models. They just throw absolutely everything at it. And the TRX, I want to say, is the crowning jewel, but it's definitely the one that knows no limits. The Bilstein Blackhawk E2 dampers. Now they're active and adaptive, all of the above. And what they do right now, I mean, the phone is usually shaking its mind off, but right now I'm driving on a bumpy, rutted, snow and ice covered, what is normally a dirt road. And look, this is actually absolutely comfortable. It is able to just figure and sort all of that out. Doesn't mean that there's no body roll at higher speeds, but the point is, this thing is designed for some hardcore off-roading. And And it can jump. I mean, there's at least one YouTuber that I've watched the video, and surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, in fact, this thing can take some hardcore, serious punishment and manage to walk away or drive away without, well, with only a little scratch, if you will. There are drive modes as well too, you know, the custom mud, sand, rock, and all that stuff. I have honestly not even pretended to work through there. I'm just enjoying the insanity that is this truck as it is out of the box without being tweaked. And right now I'm stuck at an intersection where there's a lot of traffic, even though I'm in the middle of nowhere, or so usually is the case. But I think what surprises me the most with the Ram TRX, as hardcore, heavy duty, over the top as it is how easy it is to daily drive this thing. I mean, sure, the size is a little bit overwhelming depending on where you happen to be driving, but for the most part, this thing can be extremely docile. That is, unless you that wine tour I was talking about. It is, well, the power from the engine is not surprising, but it's not overwhelming either because you get used to it, and it's not hidden, but it's absorbed by the size and the weight of this truck. But even so, when you put the hammer, the front end lifts, rear end squats, and it just takes off. But then, again, here we are. The road is not great as always. And the phone isn't moving that much. It's actually quite comfortable. In my experience, for example, the ZR2 with its multi-matic dampers, it's the same thing where these hardcore dedicated dampers are better at being civilized than quote-unquote normal suspensions. And that's absolutely the case with this Bilstein setup. I mean, it's the breadth of this truck's abilities, and it can tow 8,100 pounds on top of everything too. And of the many things it's good at, sipping fuel, obviously, but even if I told you I'm averaging almost 28 liters per 100 kilometers, I don't even think that registers in miles per gallon. I think that's in the negatives. It doesn't matter, because this is a serious off-roading machine that is more civilized than you would expect. Look at that, I mean, it's easy to drive, surprisingly. It's not intimidating. It is intimidating, but it's not intimidating. This is the most insane thing I've ever done. I can't help myself. That 8-speed automatic, oh my goodness. It is not afraid to kick down at the drop of a hat. Yeah, I wish I could have off-roaded this thing and really explored what it can do. But at the same time, like I said, I have to return it in the same condition that I got it in, and I don't want to be that guy. If you want a TRX, there's only one TRX. It's really that simple.